What's going on, guys? This is No Filter, a Nintendo podcast. I'm your host, Wizrad, and this is episode 16, being recorded on May 7th, 2018. Now, this is going to be a little bit of a different episode. I have quite a few games I need to talk about here, and just a little bit of news, and a somewhat different kind of topic that I didn't want to make a full video on, just because I didn't really want to bring attention to the game, so stay tuned for that. But let's just jump right into it. I have quite a few games I want to talk about here, and quite a good variety as well, so let's get into it. First off, Save the Ninja Clan. So this game is coming from Sometimes You, a very interesting name for a company, but it has an 8 out of 10 score on Steam, which is pretty good for a game like this. Essentially, it's just a regular 2D platformer. Think of it as akin to games like Super Meat Boy or The End Is Nigh or Slime Son on the Switch. If you like those kind of games, this game may be for you. It has tight platforming controls. You know, they're spot on, just like those other games are. And it's really good for a portable system because it has these semi-bite-sized levels. However, they do range from, around 20 seconds to a minute to complete, which can be a little bit different because you are going to be dying in this game. This game does get pretty difficult at times, but if you went through The End Is Nigh or Super Meat Boy, you're not going to see anything too different from this. It is different controls and some different aspects. Like one of the cool gameplay mechanics in this, because you are a ninja in Save the Ninja Clan. Basically, you can throw one of your, I think it's a shuriken or a knife, and it can stick into certain surfaces, and you can make that as a platform. So say there's a big wall, you throw one knife into it, you have a limit of 2, you throw one knife, you jump on that, you throw another knife when you're jumping, then you use that as another platform, and then you use another one, and you can pretty much climb up whole walls if you want to like that. So that's a pretty interesting mechanic that actually works really well in the game, and is used for some pretty interesting puzzles that you have to do throughout. I guess going over some of the other stuff that I really enjoyed about the game, secret levels in it are pretty amazing. I really like these. So basically what it does is if you go into a certain spot in the game that clearly isn't part of the main level, you might see like a little blip in the in the world or something like that, or say it tells you to go right but you end up going left for far enough. It basically breaks the game, essentially it breaks the game, right? And basically what it does is a little text box will pop up as if someone's like hacked back into your game, or one of the developers is talking to you, and they start messing with the gameplay mechanics that you're doing. So basically one of them, for example, I was running left, and then all of a sudden text box pops up, say, hey, why aren't you playing the game? What's wrong with you? Why are you doing this? Well, take this, or something like that. Then it like turns like gravity up to like times 10 or something like that. Or another one, it basically switches your controls around. So I was running left, all of a sudden I'm running right, even though I'm still holding the trigger left, and I have to switch it around. And it's very cool to see these kind of things. And basically there's a secret level in each one of these 33 levels in the game, which is quite a bit, especially for the cost of the game. And like each level has these secret levels that you got to find, and then you can win it by. It's interesting. It's almost like a little boss battle of like just figuring out what can you do to get out of this. Sometimes they put you in like a cage, and you don't know how you're going to get out of this cage or something like that. I don't know. It's very cool, and I love when games do these like fourth wall breaking, developers talking to the gamer kind of a thing. Like it's very interesting, and I love to see that in something like this, and shows that there's a lot of care put into it as well. But yeah, again, like I brought this up before, the price for the amount of content, it's really good. Like 30 levels, and you're going to be dying a lot in these levels as well. And again, the great part about this, and the best part about these type of games, it's not because of the game that you're dying. The controls are spot on. Everything is how it should be. There's no crazy hitboxes or anything like that. You die because you didn't perform it as well as you should have, kind of a thing. So I love that in games. It really makes you want to come back for more, and this game definitely had me hooked, and I blasted through the game in maybe 3 days, and that was with a lot of deaths as well. And yeah, I definitely enjoyed it. The bad, though, and I think you guys can see there is definitely some bad here. The visuals are pretty terrible, not gonna lie. To be fair, like these games aren't really about the visuals, and you don't really need the visuals for a game like this, for a platformer like this, but the game does look kind of ugly. At least it doesn't get in the way of the game. It is kind of, and it's probably the biggest hurdle that you're going to find, or I feel like most gamers will find when they're looking at this game, is they'll see it and they'll say, oh, okay, well, if the visuals aren't like, up to par, then the game itself is probably going to be trash, which is, again, luckily enough, it's not. The game is actually really good. But again, just the visuals weren't there. The sound, just the whole game in general. The music is pretty terrible. The sound effects aren't good. The visuals just aren't there. But just the actual design is really good. And that it kind of makes me wish that there'd be a sequel coming out or something like that. We'll see. We'll see if there is a sequel coming out, because again, the design and the gameplay mechanics are there. It just needs a little bit more polish. Another thing that I didn't really like about it, and really the last thing that I really want to say is like a negative, is the hub world. And I guess just kind of the menu system and everything in general, it just isn't polished, right? Like that's kind of what I've been kind of alluding to, is the core gameplay is polished, but everything around it just seems to kind of be slapped together. The hub world is just pointless. It gets in the way, and serves no other purpose than to really just annoy you and to select your levels. It's kind of annoying. It really could have just been a menu system. There's no reason for it not to be. But yeah, that's pretty much my review for Save the Ninja Clan. I did enjoy it, and I hope you guys at least take a look at it, see if you'll enjoy it. Because again, if you like Super Meat Boy or The End Is Nigh or Slime Son, I think you're going to get some good enjoyment out of this, especially for the price. The next game is called Raging Justice. So this game is coming from Team 17, which is a really great publisher on Nintendo Switch that I've noticed them as of late. And in fact, one of their other games is coming out in May is Yoku's Island Express, which I'm really excited for as well. So Raging Justice is an old school side-scrolling beat-em-up game. When I'm playing this, I feel like I'm playing an old arcade game. I feel like I'm at a cabinet playing it with a buddy or something like that, or playing on Sega, playing Streets of Rage. But especially the visual style really makes me think of an arcade game. While I'm not the biggest beat-em-up fan, I did get addicted to this, and I went back multiple times to beat my high scores and go up on the leaderboards. Yeah, and again, like I've just never really been into these games. Streets of Rage was really one of the only beat-em-ups that I really cared about back in the day. But yeah, something about this, I think just having online leaderboards is a big bonus for a game like this. As far as the story, I didn't really care for it, but you're basically just cops going into a crime-ridden, like, post-riot city and arresting those with warrants and beating up those who are in your way. I don't think anyone's really expecting a story out of a game like this. But yeah, you have a choice between three characters, like the rough and tumble older dude, a faster, quicker female, and a smaller, very quick kid, I guess you can say. For me, I prefer the woman for her speed and her kicks. But all three are vastly different, which does lead to a lot, even more replay value than the game already has. The guy's a lot slower, but he has more like rough and different kind of like wrestling moves and punches and stuff like that. And the kid is very like fidgety and weird, and I don't think you can really throw too many people that well, but you have quick punches and kicks, and you can really dodge and move around very quickly. You have 10 stages to beat in the campaign mode, but you have limited lives and credits. So basically, after you beat each stage, it saves your best run, so you work toward beating the whole game. So if you guys recall in arcades, at least for me, I found a lot of these games very tough. You'd play maybe one or two levels and you end up losing, and then you can't start over again. So basically, in this one, if you beat a level, your best, the most amount of lives you have, the most amount of score you have, and the best... just the best run that you've had is saved. So whenever you go back to play the next stage after that, that is what you keep. So the more you replay the levels, the better you do, the more lives and credits that you keep, and then the further you can go in the game. And that is a fantastic progression system. I love this, and that this is probably the main reason why I went back so often to this game. And I'm still going back now. You work towards beating the game, and I love that. Especially, again, like I love having a tough game, and this game definitely can beat the crap out of you. You have to learn some of the patterns of the enemies and stuff like that. And, having this kind of, having to overcome that adversity, but gradually growing. It's almost like a roguelike in some sense, but obviously it's not like a roguelike. You're choosing the levels, but, it's very cool, and I love how it goes like this. It really extends the amount of game, and again, like that's what I'm saying. This game has some serious replay value here. yeah, what else I want to talk about? Yeah, it does feel a bit unfair though, which is, it is remnant of, the its arcade influence, I guess you could say. But it still annoys me. Like I get why they do some of this stuff, but here's one of the things. So basically, if you get hit, you have next to no invincibility time. So you'll get hit again, like right about when you're about to stand up, you get hit again, and then you get hit again, and it's just not fun when you know that you're getting hit and it's not your fault. It's little things like that that aggravate me. So like, again, you get knocked down, then you see someone at the end of the at the other end of the map throwing a chair or something at you, but you literally can't get up. You have to wait for your animation to pick you up, and then by the time you're not even up yet, you're getting knocked down again. You have to wait another like 2-3 seconds to get up. It was stuff like that that annoyed me because it wasn't really my fault. After the first hit, it wasn't really my fault that I was going to get hit again and again. It's okay if you're doing that to other people, but it's just not as fun when you're the one who's getting that done to you, especially by computers. Yeah, the combat is much like a pattern. You have to learn each enemy. It's fun to rack up combos and all that kind of stuff like that. You also get points with side objectives. For example, if you arrest 3 people with warrants or something in a level, or if you beat the level in under 3 minutes or something like that, you get extra points by doing these objectives. The bosses are pretty cool too, so you'll end up after you beat these bosses, there's some different varieties there. I've fought like a guy basically pimp named Slickback, if you guys know that reference, and I fought something like that. I fought like a big really fat like sumo looking dude. I fought like a greaser guy. It has a lot of these like different kind of like stereotypes kind of thrown in there, which is pretty interesting. So like the bosses are pretty cool. So after you beat them, though, this is kind of where the game does ramp up in difficulty. Those bosses then become parts of the mobs of enemies. You won't have like 10 of them on the screen at once, but you might have 2 of them. Whereas like you just remember like from stage 1, you maybe were like having trouble beating this guy, but now, stage 6 or something later, all of a sudden you're facing 2 or 3 of them at a time, and you're actually doing well. And it's really cool to see that kind of stuff. And again, it has a good progression to it. All in all, this is a really good game. I'm surprised how addicted I got to it, especially for like a genre that I'm not the biggest fan of. I'm definitely keeping it on my Switch and jumping back in because, like, I basically beat the game a few days ago, but I still like to just pick it up and go through a couple levels one at a time. I don't know what it is. It's just addictive. I don't know what it is. And yes, it does have co-op. My brother and I played a couple of stages, and it's definitely even better this way. I think Team 17 did a good job here. I don't know if this will be the best game that they came out with on Switch, but Team 17's been killing it on Switch recently. And again, Yoku's Island Express is coming out at the end of May, so I am super excited. And again, I appreciate. Thank you, Team 17, for sending the code for me to take a look at. The next game I want to talk about is called Don't Die, Mr. Robot DX. So this is coming from Digerati Entertainment, which I want to say again, thank you for sending the review code. Really appreciate it. And this game is incredibly addictive. This might be the best game that I'm showing you guys today, actually, at least for me. The main premise of the game, as you guys can see, you're basically just a square robot, and you have to avoid gunshots and enemies for as long as you can. Just do not die. You don't really have attacks per se. However, if you do collect fruit near an enemy, that is, I guess, your main form of attack. A small explosion in that proximity will kill enemies near it. And again, basically the gameplay loop is that you're trying to avoid as much enemies as possible, but you have to go as close to the enemies as you can, hit a fruit at that right point, and then basically chain together a bunch of kills, which is super, super satisfying. Again, this game sounds super simple, but trust me, it is not. It's actually really deep. Each level has a new goal to pursue. So basically, I don't even know how many levels there are. There's got to be at least like 100 levels in the game. Each level has a new goal to pursue with bronze, silver, gold, and platinum trophies. Each level has this goal that whether it's being maybe they reduce your movement to one axis, or they enlarge you, or they allow you to only pick up certain fruit, or to avoid fruit altogether while still trying to stay alive. Each level has something different that they throw in, a different monkey wrench they throw into the mix. And it keeps the game engaging. And honestly, like, I played one for a game like this. When you think about a game like this, you think of a game that's perfect for portable mode, which it is, but you think of playing it in short bursts. I literally played this game one night for over 3.5 hours. Like, it was perfect. Like, for about 2 hours of that, I was watching Black Panther. But, like, what? I mean, like, a game like this, I don't know, guys. This just has me addicted. I'm literally, I was just playing it before I was here to record. You know what I mean? But yeah, the progression system is actually really good too, and this is something I'm actually finding in a lot of these games. Really good progression systems that keep you wanting to play more. You can't just go by each level getting bronze each level. You need a certain number of points to get to the next group of 5 levels. So again, you're given 5 levels at the start. If you just get bronze the whole time, you're not getting the next set of levels unlocked. You have to go back, make sure you get silver, gold, or platinum along with it, get more points, unlock more levels, and that's what kind of keeps you going there. So for me, for example, I went through at least I'd say 10 sets of these levels so far, and I had to go back multiple times because I was getting a lot of bronzes in these levels, right? But then you go back and then you see all the nuance and how you can really improve that run that you had and like kind of improve on that. And that's where this progression system just really works well in a game like this, where it's not just allowing you to just walk through the game like it's nothing. No, you have to, show some skill with it. And the game does definitely get super hard. And you definitely need to have some focus here. And I'd almost suggest having a pro controller play too, because one of the issues I guess I do have with the game, more or less just a controller, the Joy-Con, the smaller joysticks that you have on the Joy-Con, it doesn't give you as much control, so it's a little bit tougher to be very tight and deliberate with your movements. But really, it didn't really matter. I played it mostly in portable anyway. Yeah, it's great stuff and perfect for a portable system. Oh, and the music. It's surprisingly great, but like there's no reason for a game like this to have this great of music. Honestly, I downloaded the music right after this. It's super good. Yeah, it might be the best indie game I played recently. Not gonna lie, for something so simple, it's really good, and I think there's a lot of other reviews out there for it. I believe this is a remake. I think this came off of Steam, but yeah, this has some really good reviews out there as well. So yeah, this is definitely a game I actually highly suggest. Again, the simplistic art style might turn off some people, but trust me, like when everything's moving and flowing and the music and everything, it actually does look really good and it plays really well. So yeah, that's Don't Die, Mr. Robot DX. Again, I want to thank Digerati for sending their code, and I'm probably going to be playing that game right after I finish recording today. I feel like I'm so like tongue-tied today or something, so hopefully it doesn't turn out too bad, but the last and final game, probably not the best out of the bunch, but decent in its own right, is called Cast of the Seven Godsends. So this game is coming from Merge Games, one of the other big publishers on the Switch now. So this game is a side-scrolling action platformer. The story is obviously like thinly veiled. It's not really anything big. I don't think you really expect any big stories out of games like this anyway. But basically you're a warrior whose baby was stolen and is being used for some kind of a ritual. So yeah, you need to stop it with the help of your 7 Godsends to bring in the name of the title. But yeah, basically these are special powers that allow you to use unique attacks. So these are pretty cool actually, and you definitely want to find the 7 different ones because these attacks are really cool and they change how you move yourself. But yeah, the game is pretty bare bones. You have a jump and attack button. That's pretty much it. You can aim up or you can aim to the side. But I guess that's as far as controls. It's pretty basic, which can be good for a platformer. It makes it very simple and all just about your reflexes and stuff like that. A lot of the changes come in what you collect throughout the world. So once, for example, you collect a special orb, you can become a certain godsend, or other orbs will give you armor or something, akin to that. You can hold down the shoot button when you're one of the godsends until a bar fills up for a special attack that pretty much clears the screen for the most part. But yeah, other than that, it's just a classic action platformer akin to something like Mega Man. It's not as good though, but the platforming is kind of floaty in some instances. It's not bad by any means, but it's just not. It's not as tight as I'd prefer. As in like a game like Save the Ninja Clan was. That's more my style. But Yeah, just in general, for the most part, it doesn't feel too great. The controls, it's not bad, but it's just not amazing, or it's just not great. It does have a mix of a messy visual style as well, and the odd controls don't really bode well with it either. Just some of the animations just kind of look a little weird with the visual style as well. It just, I don't know, just not very pleasing to the eye, like, whether in screenshot or in motion for me. The game is also very tough, it's sort of like a roguelike game in some aspects. Like, the saving system doesn't work too well. They give you enough lives. It's sort of like what Raging Justice did. They give you enough lives and credits to go through, a few different levels, but you have to save. Make sure you save at the end of each one of these levels yourself. You only have one option to save. There is no, like, multiple save files or anything like that. You don't even know what your save file is. You just hit save button. It'll say saved, and at some point, hopefully it has saved in the right spot and you can go back and just continue on from there. But there really isn't too much of a way to really, like, increase your lives or anything like that, or increase your credits. So basically I've only gone through maybe 4 or 5 of the levels now, and that's with a lot of trying to save it, go as far as I can with the most amount of lives as I can, then save, and then just repeat at that same save spot until I can get further and further. The game is definitely very tough. I think a better save system for a game like this would have made it a lot better than what it actually is. I do enjoy tough games, but sometimes it's more frustrating, especially when they have these kind of checkpoints where the one where I'm stuck at right now, which I don't know if I'm going to end up having to go back or not, but basically there's this tower that I'm trying to ascend, and at the top of the tower there's a boss, but every time I get killed by this boss, I end up going back to the bottom of the tower. Then when I'm trying to crawl up there, oh yeah, by the way, you only have, for the most part, you have 2, hit points or whatever. You can only get hit twice unless you pick up armor. You can hit 4 times, but you're going to get hit a lot of the time here. And, it kind of sucked having to crawl up the tower each time, lose a couple, health points or something like that. And then you get up to the top with like 1 or 2 health points left to try to fight this boss. It's really kind of tough. I don't know, that kind of stuff just kind of frustrates me a little bit in the game design. But as far as the good though, the actual combat and like how everything is, like how everything kind of moves, and like the level design around it is actually pretty good. The actual, I know I said like the visual design doesn't look that great, but the actual visuals on screen, they're very clear, so like you'll know where the platforms are, where they are. You don't feel like you're being cheated out of any deaths or anything like that. It is very skill based, and it is tight in that way. Again, the Seven Godsends, the actual powers are actually really cool, and I do like the upgrade system and how you try to find these different orbs that'll then increase your armor that you go to fight. The actual bosses are actually pretty well made too, surprisingly. They have some different varying patterns and stuff like that, and they'll bring in different minions to kind of distract you while you're still trying to hit them. And it definitely reminds me of Mega Man in a lot of ways, with the bosses, where you're just trying to get as much. For me, how I played Mega Man, I was trying to get as much hits on the bosses as possible before they pretty much just kill me and wear down my health. Whereas this one, you have to be a little bit more deliberate because your health is a lot more sparse. So you got to make sure you dodge, but when you're not dodging, I'm trying to hit them as many times as I can, and it's always kind of exhilarating when that's happening. So that's pretty interesting. That's pretty much it. Again, like I know I was a little bit more down on this one, but this, it has the potential there. It has some good good level design. It's just, again, I think just polishing it up a little bit, polishing up the visuals, a little bit tighter controls as far as the jumping goes. And I think they could have had something here. I'd like to see what they do next going forward. But again, I want to thank Merge Games for sending me this as a review code. And I hope you guys enjoyed these 4 reviews. Again, all these were provided with review codes. Hope that you guys have found something that you might be interested in. Because, again, I feel like there is something here for everybody. Just make sure you look and see what you might be preferring to play right now. The next game I want to talk about is Lightfall. So I've only played maybe 10 levels of it so far, but I am really enjoying it. I haven't played a platformer quite like this before. It has the same sort of gravity and jumping feel to it as a game like Super Meat Boy has, but the main hook is, your ability to create your own platforms. So basically what that means is that a lot of the jumps and the movement that you have in the game are very long and extended. So, in one screen you might not see where you're jumping to, but you're creating your own platforms, and then you might see another bit of solid ground. You basically have a limit of 4 of these blocks that you create under you, or that you can create and move in front of you to then jump to, or to block lasers from hitting you and stuff like that, or to hit enemies, or to activate switches. Yeah, you create these boxes, and you can create them underneath you to create different jumping points. And it's really interesting. Again, like either you're trying to reach far distances, which is really interesting. It kind of mixes in speed running platformers, which are my favorite, where like you're basically just hitting the joystick right, and you're just jumping at the right fluid times and getting a rhythm to it. And the great thing about this is you're creating your own rhythm with your ability to create your own platforms. You're creating your own jumping rhythm with it. It's really kind of interesting, and something I've never quite played before, which I love. I love these new type of experiences. The visual style, it looks great. It's very minimalist, kind of silhouetted figures, but it's got a lot of detail in the backgrounds with a lot of vegetation and stuff like that. It looks beautiful too. Like just the color palette in the game in general looks really great. I will have my full thoughts up about the game soon, but I am really enjoying it so far, and I do plan on finishing it up by the next podcast episode, so stay tuned for that. And the last 2 games I want to talk about, I haven't actually played them, but I did pre-purchase Yoku's Island Express and Runner 3 on the EShop, so I just can't wait for these games. What's with all these games coming out in May? There's a ton of games coming out in May. A lot of indie games too. Where were they, a month ago? It seemed kind of dead like a month ago, but yeah. Either way, I'm super excited for this. Yoku's Island Express is like that mix of pinball with kind of an adventure game, really cool. Or I guess a 2D platformer game kind of a thing. And Runner 3, obviously, you guys should definitely check out that latest trailer they had. First off, you can play Charles Martinet, which is awesome. I love Charles Martinet. He was awesome as the narrator in Runner 2, so this is super exciting for me to see him back. And that trailer just looks amazing. They seem to be going all out with this game. I can't wait to play it. But yeah, that's it for all the games I want to talk about that I've been playing or that I purchased. And let's just jump right into the news. Not too much, but a few interesting little things I want to talk about. First off, Golf Story. So yes, Golf Story is coming out physical. We don't know where yet, but it has been ESRB rated, which is all but a confirmation that yes, it is coming out physical on the Nintendo Switch. I'm hoping it's limited run games, but either way, I will be getting it. It seems like there's quite a few of these, studios that are making these games physical now. I guess they're selling it for a high enough price that they can make a good profit off of it, or they're just able to buy enough carts to warrant it. So very interesting, and I'm hoping it's limited run games, but again, I know that there's like that other company, Super Rare Games, and a few other companies that are just publishing this kind of stuff, so we'll see where it goes. But again, I've been waiting to get Golf Story for a little while. I remember when it first came out, they for some reason they upped it even more than what the Canadian dollar was from the American dollar, so I think it was, $19.99 for Americans. For some reason they put it all the way up to, I believe, $27 or something like that, Canadian, which is just absurd because they're just gouging even more money out of Canadians, even though that's not what the actual exchange rate is. But anyway, that I kind of boycotted it for that, but I was never going to not actually buy the game. I was always going to wait for either a huge sale or a physical edition, and here comes a physical edition. So I'm super excited to play that game. I can't wait to play it. So. And the last bit of news I really want to talk about, I know this is a really quick news segment here, but there's a lot of these E3 rumors going around, and I'm not going to kind of report on each and every one of them, but I will have a full video about my E3 predictions for Nintendo, as well as a separate one for PS4 and Xbox One combined as well. I will have some discussions going on, and keep your eyes out for other Nintendo YouTube channels. I will likely be on a few other podcasts or discussion videos about E3 2018, so stay tuned for that. yeah, and that's really exciting for me to have that. And again, I've just been really swamped with work. I've been planning on getting more people to, feature in these podcasts, but sometimes it is just easier for me to, pull up a microphone and, and write out some stuff that I want to talk about in the podcast and just kind of go from there. Time is definitely not as plentiful as it was, I guess, a few months ago, I guess you could say. But yeah, let's get into my the first segment of hot matches. So, Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze is $60. I've been getting into some arguments recently with people over Twitter and YouTube about this. So, Nintendo fans, you really don't have to defend Nintendo for this. They do not need to be defended for everything, especially for stuff that is 100% no ifs, ands, or buts anti-consumer. This is not something that they should be defended for. Trust me, I know about defending Nintendo about stuff. This is not something to defend them for. Again, this has nothing to do with the quality of the game or if the game is actually worth the $60, which it totally is. It totally is fine. It's worth the $60 price tag. It's one of the best 2D platformers ever made, in my opinion. It's about the scummy practices Nintendo has been doing here. It is just feeding this Switch is premium bullshit that I keep seeing from Nintendo, from third parties, and just from everybody in general. It should not be that way. Anyway. It's actually, I guess back to that, it's even more so with Canadian, with my Canadian ass and with our dollar right now, even more. Games, brand new games here cost $79.99. Where I've been always used to games being either $49.99 on the Wii days or $60. So having these games then increased even more with the Switch tax, it's absurd. And seeing a game like Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze coming up for $60, it's just another nail in the coffin kind of a thing. Yeah, so the first thing they did was they removed the game off the Wii U eShop, which is scummy as fuck. It really is. No ifs, ands, or buts about it, Just the fact that people can try to even defend that and say, oh, well, no one's buying it anyway. No, that's the dumbest thing ever. You're just being... what? What are you trying to say? Like, that's just the dumbest thing ever. Them taking it away so that people don't see that you can buy the game for fucking $20. If they could take it all off of the physical shelves, you don't think they'd be trying to do that as well? 100% they would be. Charging more for a game with a minimal upgrade like this that they released 4 years ago is fucking ridiculous. One of my fellow YouTubers, and I'm a big fan of his, Mizza T, actually made a great video talking about this the other day. One good point that he brought up was comparing with other remakes that Nintendo is bringing to the Switch. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, for example, features both DLC packs and a brand new mode into the game. First off, the 2 DLC packs are huge. That's, what is that, like 8 or 16 new levels in the game with new characters, and the new mode is a whole new different mode. It's not just a feature with a new character playing through the exact same levels, the exact same enemies, the exact same everything. It's again, I don't want to downplay Funky as if it's just literally nothing. It is something, but it's not. It's nothing big. It's nothing like what they're doing with these other games, and it's certainly not worth charging more money for than what it would have been than what it was before. And the other one he brought up was Captain Toad coming out, and how it's the same price as it was on the Wii U, and it's not costing more, and it comes with more levels, but it's still costing the same as what it was on the Wii U. There's no reason for Donkey Kong to cost $10 more. Never ever would any game ever coming out after the fact that doesn't have a significant amount of new content should it be costing more than what it did when it came out years ago. That's just the dumbest thing I ever heard. But another person I had an argument with about it was Player Essence. And like, goddamn it, no wonder why this guy just hasn't grown more. I've been watching him for a little while now, OJ, and I appreciate what he does, and I'd like seeing him on Spawncast and stuff like that, but this blind fanboyism is just ridiculous. The guy just needs to chill and doesn't need to defend Nintendo on everything that they do. They should not be defended by anybody here. This is the most anti-consumer thing you can think of, But there's literally no positive thing about what Nintendo is doing here for consumers. we don't fucking work for Nintendo, people. So giving excuses for their business practices is not a thing. Being able to say, well, people would buy it anyway, so it doesn't matter. No, it's talking about yourself. You're the consumer, you're the buyer. You should be worrying about how much money you're putting into it. For a game that was $50 to sell for $60 now, it's anti-consumer. It's bullshit. It should not be a thing. But yeah, again, anyway, I didn't want to make a full separate video about it because I don't want to support the game in that way, which hurts me because I love the game and I want it to do well. I wish it did better than it did on the Wii U, you know what I mean? But I just don't want to support it in that way. So I just need to talk about it at the end of a podcast episode. Yeah, again, I will be getting this game at some point, but I'm going to be waiting for it to be $30 or less if it ever does drop to that, because apparently Switch games never drop price, and Switch tax is high and strong, and this just doesn't help it out in any way whatsoever. So anyway, I'm pretty sure this episode has been super, super rambly and just a mix. My brain's been mush, I guess, today, so we'll see how this episode turns out. But again, I hope you guys enjoyed it, and just maybe this is just a little bit more of an informal episode than any other one. Yeah, tell me what you guys think about the whole Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze situation. It's just disheartening just to see this coming from Nintendo, and that people just keep wanting to defend it because it's the Switch. I don't know. It needs to kind of stop and slow down here. Again, like I'll be the first one there to defend Nintendo when they're worth defending, which a lot of the time they are. A lot of people like to throw out random bullshit about them, but this is not one of the cases. This is Nintendo being scummy as fuck, and they need to be called out on it. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed, and let me know if any of the indie games that I talked about today, if any of them are actually interesting you. Please let me know in the comments below, and I will see you guys all next time.